What's up, guys? I'm Jack, and this is Daisy. And welcome to another video. Yeah, sorry I missed last week, by the way. This run took so long to record. So long. And that's for a number of reasons. Now, the theme of this run is beating Elden Ring as a Necromancer. Now, what is that? What's a Necromancer? It's basically just a type of wizard who summons the undead. I'm sure you guys all knew that, but if anybody didn't, there you go. And with that theme in mind, this run really is all about death. Not just the spirits I summon, not just the enemies I vanquish, but my own death. Over and over and over and over again. So what are the rules of this run? Well, I can only use magic or weapons that summon ghosts. I have to get the death ending in the base game, I have to get all DLC remembrances, I have to stay at 25 vigor or less until DLC Radahn at least. I'm only allowed to use skeleton summons, as well as Egon and Alexander, because I love those guys. No glitches, and no damage buffing incantations are allowed. Let's begin. So I started basically the first hour and a half off by running around and collecting things. The first thing I needed was a way to do damage, so I got the Wraith Calling Bell. And I also just got a bunch of golden seeds and sacred tears and whatnot before grabbing the Rose's axe. But I couldn't wield the axe yet, so I tried to do the ball farm, and I've never done this before, so I was a bit confused. Yeah, this is actually how I got my first death. And my second. But eventually I looked up a video on how to do it, and I was okay from there. I also decided to save myself some time by farming this dragon for extra runes, and we got some decent levels out of it. After that, I made my way up to Altus to collect more golden seeds and sacred tears and whatnot, basically anything I could get my hands on, as well as a special weapon that would be the main weapon of this run. And this particular weapon resides in the Sage's Cave, which most people don't often go into. On my way to the boss arena here, I did collect a bunch of items, and I also died a bunch to the enemies, or like by jumping off the wrong thing and falling into a hole. But eventually I would make my way to the boss, and he absolutely destroyed me. So many times. Over the course of this run, I probably lost to this guy more than I lost to Radahn. Because I was super underleveled. And stubborn. But yeah, this is Necromancer Gaius, and he's holding the Family Head's Flail. A weapon that I very much want, because it's quite good. Believe it or not, flails are actually usable. I think they buffed them, maybe not recently, but a couple months back, and well, they do a lot of poise damage and some decent base damage, and the Family Heads has a really, really good Ash of War. Anyway, I gave up on that. Fought Morgott, died, and then beat him, and then I went to fight Godric. And at first I was using the Rose's axe, and it was doing pretty good damage, but I died to him as well. And that's when I decided that I wanted to get a spell that resided below Stormveil. And I don't know why I didn't think of this earlier. But yeah, if you go into the secret caves below Stormveil Castle by following the way that I am currently going, not only is there a boss down there, but there's also a death spell. It's called Rancor Call, and it's actually really cool. So there's Rancor Call and then Ancient Death Rancor. And it's basically like comparing Glintstone Pebble to Glintstone Comet. Rancor Call just does less damage than Ancient Death Rancor, but it is significantly more FP efficient. I learned later on in the run that I get more damage out of Rancor Call with a full bar of FP than I do with Ancient Death Rancor, so pretty neat stuff. That being said, until I get a decent level and staff, it's not going to do much damage at all. In fact, the Wraith Calling Bell does more damage, which is why I used it to beat Godric. I wanted a reason to use this for a boss, and I figured Godric was probably my best choice, so it actually is pretty decent. I mean, it has really good range, it barely costs any FP. The tracking on it is solid, and it attacks pretty quickly. I mean, as far as tools go, it's pretty decent. So yeah, Halloween's coming up pretty soon. That's why the thumbnail and the rules page and this entire video, it's like Halloween themed. I imagine I'll put some Halloween music in the background too. And yeah, I love spooky things. Halloween is like my favorite holiday by far. And I also have another Halloween themed run coming up next week too, which will hopefully be a lot quicker because I'm not starting from a fresh character. I'm just going to continue on with this character in New Game Plus. It should be fun. I'm also hoping to have a second video out this week as well. Probably come out tomorrow if you're watching this on the day it comes out. Hopefully. It's not going to be Elden Ring, but if you want to watch it, go for it. My buddy Corey and I decided to do a challenge run of Call of Duty Warzone Resurgence. We did pistols only, and it worked pretty well. It only took a few tries for us to get a win. Oh, spoilers. Sorry. And speaking of getting a win, there we go. That was pretty easy. I was hoping that with my extra levels I'd be able to take down Necromancer Gaius pretty easily, but that still wasn't the case. So I tried, and then got my ass handed to me. And then I tried again, for like 20 more attempts basically. I guess other than the fact that I have very little health right now, the Rosis axe that I'm using just isn't upgraded at all, so it doesn't do much damage. Also, I imagine this guy resists magic damage, which this axe does, so that's probably why this took so long. Sorry. Well, after baiting him into the Rosis' summons, Ash of War a bunch, we got him low enough to take him out with a couple final hits from our axe, and finally, after like 25 attempts, we beat Necromancer Gaius and get the family heads. I also take out a couple of Tibia Mariners just to get their spirit summons, because we will be using these. Skeletal Militiaman Ashes are probably the best ones that we can use because it summons 2 skeletons who can respawn after they die, as long as they don't get hit by the boss while they're dead. I take out this Tibia Mariner in Altus Plateau next to get the Tibia Summons spell, and we're not going to get too much use out of that, but hopefully we can use it a little bit. It's just super inconsistent. I think it was last year, but Press Continue, he's another Elden Ring challenge run YouTuber, he did a Skeletons Only run. I'm guessing it was for Halloween, and he basically just used the Tibia Summons spell and the Rosis axe a little bit, and, you know, the skeletal militiamen and whatnot. We beat the Tree Sentinel, and then it was time to take on this Deathray bird in Liurnia to get another spell, Ancient Death Rancor. And I won't be using that one for a little while, but I still wanted to grab it. Like I said earlier, these spells are basically useless until we get some better levels and better gear. But with that, it's time to make our way to Radahn for the next big boss fight. And good God, we're already 6 hours in. I don't know why this is taking so long. I guess I'm gonna blame Necromancer Gaius for this. Our first attempt at Radahn went really well until I ran out of FP and decided to let him take me out. And I did this because I really wanted to just use the Familial Rancor Ash of War to destroy him. So I gave myself a few more blue flasks and, well, this is the fight. The Ash of War definitely isn't quick, but as long as we can get a little bit of distance from Radahn, we're usually good to use it with relative safety. And man, this thing chunks him, good lord. Much like the Draconic Tree Sentinel, it only takes a full FP bar to get him down to about half health, which is wild. Another nice thing about this Ash of War is that you can just roll out of it and cancel the animation once you're about halfway through it. It won't do as much damage if you do that, but it does provide some safety. Also, please let me know if you guys have any ideas for fun Halloween treats for my next video's cooking section. I don't know what to cook yet, and I would love to do something Halloween themed. nearly died at the end there, but I'd say that was a pretty good Radahn fight. Now we're heading down to Nokron. Nokron has a couple items that we need. And the first one that I decided to grab is actually the Ghost Flame Torch. Now I don't know if I'm going to use it, but it is like a ghosty Necromancer item, so maybe? Then we grab the Finger Slayer Blade and we continue to make our way forward to fight the gargoyles as well. And first couple tries they did get me. Okay, these guys are kind of tough. But with the help of my Skelly boys, we take them out without too many problems. And this allows us to get to the Deeproot depths. And we need this for a couple of reasons. First and foremost, the Prince of Death's staff is right up these roots. And that is not only the highest sorcery incantation staff in the game, but it also gives our death sorceries a bit of a damage boost. Now, there's a caveat with this. In order to get that super high sorcery scaling, again the highest in the game, our intellect and faith need to both be around 80, within 5 points of each other. And of course we need to level it up with smithing stones, but once we have it leveled up and once our intellect and faith are both around 80, yeah, I think it's like 425 sorcery scaling. Let me look that up. Yeah, I just looked it up. It is by far the highest sorcery scaling in the game when your stats are maxed out. That just means it does more base damage than any other staff, basically. Anyway, I tried to fight Rykard, but it didn't go too well, so instead I went to the Carrion Library? Study Hall. Carrion Study Hall. And I placed the inverted statue down. Now, fun fact, if you accidentally walk off the map here and quit out fast enough, when you load back in, Preceptor Miriam will actually vanish, and you could just walk right through without worrying about his attacks. And by the way, you don't have to fall and then quit out, you can just regularly quit out. Yeah, and with the Curse Mark of Death in hand, I talked to Fia here to start her quest line so I can get the death ending. So she gives me a nice warm hug, which is so satisfying, and then I walk in on her after she had just murdered a guy. So that's fun. Next up, I fought her champions and spammed the absolute hell out of them with my spirits. So that was pretty easy. And then I talked to Fia once more. After a nice warm hug, she actually passes away. And we have to enter her deathbed dream in order to fight a dragon. So Lichdragon Fortisax is the next boss on our list, and I don't have too much experience fighting him. But that's okay because Familial Rancor does so much damage to him. You'll see when they actually hit. He's also a dragon, and dragon movesets are kind of easy to dodge most of the time. They're very readable, and they're also very big targets, which makes them easy to hit, so dragons usually aren't the most difficult thing in this game. But yeah, once we start to hit him with our Ash of War, we just chunk this boy down. And this ended up being one of our quickest fights yet. Well, probably the quickest fight yet, actually. He does do a lot of damage though, so we do have to be somewhat careful to not get too tapped by him. But I think as long as we stay either right under him or right out of his range, we should be alright. Always remember, stick to the crotch. And that is especially true for other dragons and other big boys like Fortisax right here.
Not.
Oh no! Daisy just walked on my Xbox controller and turned it on. Oh geez. Guess I'm gonna have to take a break. Okay, maybe in like 5 minutes actually. That's when the weekly Destiny reset is. 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, every Tuesday. Unfortunately, the Prince of Death staff does not buff our Familial Rancor, even though it's basically a death sorcery, but that's okay. We definitely did not need the extra damage to defeat Fortisax right here, and claim our reward from the Corpse of Fia. So with the Mending Rune of the Death Prince in hand, we are free to continue the game and play it as normal. Now over here, I did grab one of my favorite talismans, the Ritual Shield Talisman, as well as one of my favorite armor sets in the game, Alberic's armor set. He has a cool dark wizard hat and a fun freaking wizard outfit. I just like the wizard hat, man. Godfrey was super easy, and then we move on to Morgott. He did take me out once, but that's okay. And Morgott, surprisingly, was also super easy and a really quick fight. Usually he gives me a lot of trouble because I hate his moveset, but thankfully he was distracted by our skeletons. So, yeah, good enough. This is another reason why the Rancor spells are so good, because if a boss is phase transitioning like that, you can just set up a bunch of spirits that'll slowly start traveling towards them, and once that transition is over, they'll all hit, which in this case caused a poise break, which allowed us to stack up a bunch more spirits that would be continuously hitting him for the rest of the fight, which didn't last too long. It's so good, and it'll get even better once our Prince of Death staff is usable, because it's a lot quicker to cast Ancient Death Rancor than it is to cast Familial Rancor from our family head's flail. And we actually got our next item that we can use from Morgott. It's called the Regal Omen Baron, and it's really cool, but it costs half our FP bar to use, and it takes a while to cast, and it does less damage than Familial Rancor, as you guys can see right here. The Regal Omen Baron did 752 damage, whereas Familial Rancor did at least 818. It would have done more, but the last head didn't hit him. And it costs significantly less FP, so I don't think we'll be getting too much use out of the Regal Omen Baron. Or any use out of it, actually. Next up, we head to the mountaintops of the giants, and that's to fight a giant. The fire giant. And before I fight the fire giant, I wanted to talk to my buddy Alexander over here, because I want him in this fight with me, because I love him so much. If you guys have seen my content before, or if you look at my channel, you'll see probably over a dozen Elden Ring challenge runs by now. So hopefully it's safe to say that I can beat the fire giant on my own by now. So at this point, I'm just having fun and enjoying the game. And I love Alexander, so I want him in this fight with me. It's okay if you get mad, I understand. Using a summon can be kind of cheap sometimes, but it's Alexander, come on. Come on. And I summoned my skeletons. Now, even though I had 3 summons with me, I did lose my first attempt. Well, my first 3 attempts, actually. But that's okay, because we didn't waste too much time until we managed to take him out. Now, even though we do a pretty good amount of damage to him, this fight still takes forever, just because of how much health he has. So, I'm gonna do some cuts in here. So phase 1 went about as well as it possibly could have. Basically just ran away a bunch, and we chased him and hit him with our spells, and we even got a poise break on him, which is pretty nice. Now, when this big boy wasn't dodging our spells, it did a really good amount of damage, and we were chunking him down pretty quickly. And we're still at such a low level. I think we're barely level 50 right now. So this build and this weapon is far from optimized. And even then, you guys can see the power that it has and how much damage it does. It's actually really good. I like flails a lot more than I thought I would. Well, this one at least. But that being said, it might be worth it to try the others. Maybe the new flail that they added. I feel like phase 2, he generally just runs around even more. And then that big freaking volcano eruption attack where he shoots a bunch of freaking fire meteors out of his face. Oh, that one sucks. I feel like it always manages to somehow randomly hit me, even though I've been running around trying to dodge 24/7. And even when you go like under him, they still manage to hit you or something. Like, ugh. Ugh. Well, after the fire giant, we're basically almost done, which is kind of weird because we're only 24 minutes in, and this version of the video that I'm currently editing is 2 hours long. I mean, really, what's left? Malekith, Gideon, Godfrey, Mohg, Radagon, Elden Beast. Okay, that kind of makes sense now, never mind. Well, eventually I got the fire giant pretty close to one shot, and I wanted to let Alexander finish off this fight so he could grow fat from strength. He deserves this victory. Much more than we do. That's a champion right there. That's a warrior. Well, thanks to Alexander, we managed to burn the Erd Tree, make our way through Crumbling Farum Azula, defeat the Godskin duo pretty easily with the help of some sleep pots. And while we're in Farum Azula, we do run into Alexander, who challenges us to a duel in order to test his strength against another powerful warrior such as us. And I wanted to test something out myself. I wanted to see if Ancient Death Rancor was on par with Family Heads yet. So with the charged up Ancient Death Rancor, we get 808. And looking back at the footage with a single familial Rancor, we get 1151. So yeah, we're not quite there yet. And that takes us to Malekith, and I'm not going to beat around the bush here. He messed us up quite a few times. Though, our first attempt actually went decently well. We got him down to his second phase and then some. But there wasn't much we could do to survive his onslaught of attacks and health draining effects. And at this point in the run, I'd been playing for about 4 to 5 hours straight. So I wasn't exactly playing at my best. But I am stubborn, so I gave it some more attempts, which ended in successive failure. Yeah. I decided to take a break from this fight after some more attempts, and I went off to gather some glovewort pickers bell bearings. So I went to a bunch of catacombs and defeated a bunch of bosses and got these bell bearings, and that allows me to upgrade my skeleton spirit ashes. Oh, there we go, another trade. And a golden seed. It's pretty helpful. Now, thankfully there are only 3 glovewort pickers bell bearings, so it didn't take us too long to gather all of them and upgrade our skeleton spirit ash. And I just did the skeletal militiamen ashes just because there are 2 of them. It's kind of nice. And with these bad boys at +9, they're significantly more tanky, which is super helpful. Now, that didn't allow us to instantly win this fight that we were stuck on, but it definitely helped. And eventually, after some more attempts, we were able to get a good run. With my upgraded skeletons in hand, they tend to survive a lot longer, which in turn makes Malekith focus on them for more of the fight, giving us a chance to attack freely without worry of retribution. That being said, Malekith really didn't hold back on us. It's crazy how different this game is when you use spirit summons.
In the time.
Honestly, I think it makes it more difficult. Because, well, when it's just me and a boss, I know that he's always going to attack me, and I know when to dodge the attacks, for the most part. While my skeletons are on the field, Malekith, for example, could start a combo by attacking them, but finish up that combo by attacking me. And I wouldn't be ready to dodge that because, well, I would think that he's still just going to attack the skeletons. So it just makes it harder to dodge attacks, though I guess you do get more attack opportunities. So it's a give and take, I suppose. It's just less predictable. That's exactly what it is, less predictable. But yeah, a whole different game. Some bosses it's easier, some bosses it's more difficult. Radahn, for example, the final boss of the DLC Radahn, I did not use my skeletons for that fight because I was not confident with that. I felt like he was just going to swap up and hit me when I wasn't ready and take me out. I would rather be able to have his full aggro and be able to predict his attacks with much more accuracy. Anyway, since Malekith can't one-shot us, thanks to our Ritual Shield Talisman, which by the way gives us massive damage reduction when we are at full health, we are able to finish up the fight and move on. Couple bosses left in the main game, then we got a whole lot of bosses in the DLC. onto Gideon, I spammed the absolute hell out of this guy, which felt great because normally he's the one that spams spells. So, payback, I suppose. Yeah, he didn't stand much of a chance. He did take us out on the first attempt, I'm not even gonna lie to you guys. I don't know what happened there, but we're gonna pretend like it didn't happen, and this is actually the first attempt, okay? Godfrey beat us a couple times. Yeah, oh, I picked up Morgott's Great Rune, by the way. It just gives you a bunch of extra health and I think some extra stamina, but I picked that up. That's what you see in the top left corner up there. But, yeah, Godfrey beat us up a couple times, but eventually we got a good run. Blah, blah, blah. You've heard this all before. I feel like I say the same thing before every single boss fight, and I don't know how to start that differently, because every boss fight does go the same. I lose a couple times, and then I beat him. And it's not like anything in particular was giving me any issue, it's just that I have really low vigor, and therefore can be one or two shot by every single enemy's attack in this game. So all it takes is a simple mistake, and then you're done for. The low vigor is helping though. I feel a lot better at this game than before I started doing this challenge run, so that makes me really happy. Progress. Now there's one thing that I can talk about with this fight, and that's our skeletons. They don't survive too long. Godfrey in both phase 1 and 2 has massive AoE attacks that basically cover the entire field. So even if he isn't aiming for our skeletons when they're dead, that attack is still going to hit them and make sure they don't come back. So yeah, they just don't last very long in this fight. Phase 1 Godfrey is usually a cakewalk. He's pretty easy to dodge and predict, but phase 2, again, is normally pretty easy, but I feel like with a mage build, it's kind of harder because he really likes to get in your face in phase 2. It's kind of like this, where he just keeps charging me every single second and I can't get an attack off, but that's like the entirety of phase 2. Though there are some safe attack opportunities, unlike what's happening right now. Anyway, we did get to phase 2. God, I love my wizard hat. Dude, I want one of these. Can somebody get me a wizard hat, please? I just want to be an old wizard in the woods doing some nature magic with my pet animals or something, I don't know. And I want a long beard and a big tall wizard hat with a very wide brim, and it's going to be awesome. And Gandalf is going to be my best friend. Alright, well, Horalu's almost dealt with. We got a couple of spirits headed his way to take him down. And, great googly moogly, I am hungry. Let's make some pesto. So I start by cleaning my mortar and pestle. Is the mortar the bowl or the grindy thingy? Anyway, I fill it with a little bit of olive oil and a bunch of fresh basil leaves, basically as many as I can fit in the bowl, and then I get to grind it. Now, most traditional pestos contain pine nut in them, but I think I'm allergic to pine nut, so we're not going to add that in this time. I take a break from grinding to add some fresh Pecorino Romano cheese. Pecorino Romano is definitely the best cheese for pesto, and I add some more leaves after that. Basically, every time you crush up a bunch of leaves, they're going to get very small. So whenever your pesto bowl is looking quite empty, you just add more leaves. Now, there is also about half a teaspoon of salt in there, but I continue to crush it up until it's a nice paste. I am also roasting some chopped garlic in a pan with some olive oil right now, so we're going to put that in the pesto once it is nice and golden brown. We'll mix it around a little bit and then add a bunch more Pecorino Romano because why not? It's amazing. And then unfortunately we got to get back to grinding, and good lord, my arms were so tired after this. Most people use a blender or food processor or an immersion blender or something for this. You don't have to use a mortar and pestle. I just like to because it's authentic Italiano, you know. We of course need some pasta to go with this pesto, and we're not using Great Value brand rotini. No, we're just making some fresh pasta. So a cup of flour, a teaspoon of salt, 1 egg, and just a splash of water in a bowl. Mix it around a bunch, and once everything is globbing up a little bit, I like to put it on a cutting board and then form it into a single ball with my hands. Once everything is sticking together nice and easy, I rip it into 2 separate balls, and I take a rolling pin to roll them out as thin as I can. And that's so that they can fit into my pasta machine, which is going to save us so much time. And fresh pasta is super good. It just adds a different texture. I know a lot of people use like semolina flour to make fresh pasta, but I don't think that's necessary. Like if you want to be authentic or like pretentious about it, go for it. But you can also just use regular flour. That works fine. I don't know. Anyway, we roll it through our pasta machine to get it extra thin, and then slice it with the slicer on the side of the machine. And once our pasta is nice and sliced, can boil it in a pot of salt water for a moment or two. I combined half with the pesto, half with the regular sauce that I'd made the other day, sprinkle some Pecorino Romano on top, and good God, I have such a mess to clean up. Back to the Elden Ring, I suppose, and we're on to Radagon and the Elden Beast. Now, most of the Radagon fights went just like this. I would summon my skeletons, Radagon would fight them, and I would be able to spam the absolute hell out of him with my Rancor of Spirits. And it worked pretty well. I oftentimes would get a poise break right around there in the middle, and I would usually be able to finish him off pretty quickly. Just kidding. 9 times out of 10, he would start attacking my skeletons, then turn around and either 1 or 2 shot me. So this fight actually took a lot of attempts. Again, the main problem just being that we are super low vigor, so if I make 1 mistake, it's basically over. Like that. So rather than show you guys the 43 failed attempts, I'll just tell you what I learned in those 43 attempts. First thing, definitely use Lords of Divine Fortification, just because super helpful. Extra holy damage resistance is nothing to scoff at for this fight. Second, just don't be afraid to use your regular attacks too. You don't have to just stand back and spam spirits the entire time. You can hit him with your flail, especially when the heavy jump attack does so much poise damage. What's crazy is that even though we did have a good path to victory and we do significant damage to Radagon with each cast of our Ash of War, I would still lose against him much more often than the Elden Beast. In fact, I probably only got to the Elden Beast a handful of times in those 43 attempts. And again, that's just because Radagon would sometimes just turn around and start smacking me around rather than focusing on my skeletons, and I wouldn't be ready for those attacks. But this run right here was particularly good because I barely took any damage this entire first phase. Now, if you look at my items, you'll see that I only have 1 flask of cerulean tears left. And that's kind of on purpose. I tried to use my familial Rancor to defeat the Elden Beast, but it heavily resists magic damage, so we weren't really doing much to it. Definitely better off just sticking with melees for this guy. And when I began the fight, I would be counting every single jump heavy attack, because if I managed to get 5 in quick succession, that would give us a nice poise break. And the Elden Beast has a very forgiving poise break timer. I don't know if that's what it's called, but we can basically get some attacks off on him while he is poise broken before we actually repose. And for this, I decided to just use the rest of my FP and use Familial Rancor on this guy. We still have 1 more blue flask, so I'm just going to try to use that up during this fight, because why not? Either with Familial Rancor, or we could just rebuff ourselves with Lord's Divine Fortification. Whoops. I just realized that I forgot to add a rule to the list at the beginning. You guys won't notice because I'll fix that before this video gets released. But essentially I forgot to add no damage buffing incantations to the rules list at the beginning. Again, you guys won't notice because I'll have fixed that already. But yeah, I'll be right back. I gotta take care of something. I got wiped by his like forward ranged slash attack. This one right here. Yeah, this took me out so many times. It was really annoying. Usually I'd be riding on Torrent like I just was, and then the first one would hit me, and then I couldn't dodge the second one, and then I would die. But that time I survived. Anyway, I don't have too much else to say about this fight. I put Lord's Divine Fortification back up. I have a bunch of healing flasks left, though he has a lot of health left as well. And he's going to keep running away for most of it. But, yeah. Enjoy. I'm going to shut up for a little while. Well, with the Elden Beast taken care of, we can use the Mending Rune of the Prince of Death on the Elden Ring and get the death ending. This is my personal favorite ending because, as you guys can tell, I'm a super edgelord, and yeah, so that was only 50% sarcasm too. I do like this ending the best, and also I am kind of edgy. I do like the darker things in life. I just don't really act like it.
In our home, across the far, the lands between. Our seed will look back upon us and record the age of the Duskborn.
Alright, on to Mohg. I picked up Mohg's crystal tier, or whatever it's called, the purified blood crystal tier. Is that it? And this was a piece of cake, man. First try. He heavily focused on our skeletons. We got poise breaks pretty easily. We could stack up a bunch of spirits that hit him at once. And he would quite often just do his big freaking blood attack where he, does Tris. Joy. Unas, something like that, and that would distract him, allowing us to hit him more. So I mean, we got him to second phase within 15-20 seconds. And with that, I've been on and off working on this edit since 7 a.m. this morning, and it's almost 5 p.m. So I think I'm gonna take a break and relax. Alright, it is the next day, and yeah, got some fresh energy, and we're gonna get this voiceover done, boys. Though, to be honest, there's not too much else to say about Mohg. After he does his phase transition here, he gains a lot of health back, which kind of sucks. But I'm just doing these jump attacks to try to get a poise break on him after he finishes, and yeah, I got hit by that dumb, not even attack, and died. Second attempt goes very similar. I get the phase transition, do a lot of damage to him, but this time I do manage to get that poise break after some jump attacks, and I unfortunately missed my chance to riposte because I was getting damaged by that blood flame the whole time, which kind of sucks, but it's fine. And unfortunately I am out of FP currently. The good thing is one of my skeletons is still alive, so he's been taking the aggro quite a bit, and I mean, he's almost done. We just got to get a few more jump attacks, and we should either get a poise break or just straight up take him out. And with Mohg in the ground, we can make our way to the Shadow Realm to finish off the second half of this challenge. Oh my god, we're already at 50 minutes. This is going to be another long one, boys. Okay, the first thing that I need to do is spend all the time in the world getting scattered tree fragments, as well as map fragments and the ghosty fragments. I forgot what those are called. I basically just went everywhere around the map and collect every single site of grace that I possibly could. and grabbed every item that I possibly could. Now there are 3 new items that we can use, and one of them is pretty cool. It summons a skull that flies above your head and will fly at people occasionally. It's an incantation, surprisingly, and that'll come from defeating the first boss. Oh, look, another trade. The other 2 is a glaive and a curved sword, which, to be honest, I don't like either of those very much, and we don't end up using them throughout the run. I finally felt as though I had collected enough Scadutree fragments and Sights of Grace to move on to the first boss. And by the way, after the Elden beast, I spent some time rune farming. I was basically only like level 110 or something, if that, when I beat the Elden beast, so super underleveled. So I spent some time getting to around level 155 before I started the DLC here. So finally our Prince of Death staff is usable now, which is great. And that staff is going to be one of our main weapons for the rest of the run. So Divine Beast, Dancing Lion. And not gonna lie, in terms of Scadutree levels, I am pretty overleveled for this boss. Now around here, this is when I figured out that Rancor Call is significantly more FP efficient than Ancient Death Rancor. I mean, it does nearly the same damage, not quite exactly, but nearly the same damage, but it just costs significantly less FP to use. So yeah, that's what we're going to be using for a lot of these bosses. Also have Tibia Summons on, which I get a little bit of use out of, not going to lie. It actually does the most damage out of any of our spells. The only problem with it is that it is incredibly hard to hit enemies with it. So basically it summons 3 skeletons that come out of the ground and swing some big axes in a little triangle formation. And if the boss isn't stationary, they will miss. They don't follow the boss as it's moving. They come out of the ground where the boss was when you casted it. So even though it does the most damage and the most poise damage out of any of our spells currently, it's way too inconsistent to use. Which is another reason why I had so much respect for Press Continue when he did his run, basically only using the Tibia Summons. That must have sucked so much. Definitely check out his channel though. His content is so much better than mine, and he is so funny. His wordplay is amazing. I will always hype this guy up because he's the best. Press Continue. That's the YouTube channel. Anyway, ever since last night, Daisy has been staring at random things in my apartment. Like, you know when a dog is just like staring at a corner or something and they start barking and they get all aggressive and whatnot? It's kind of the equivalent of that, but with a cat. I don't know how to explain it other than it looks like she's looking at a person or a ghost. And my apartment is definitely not haunted, but I am a ghost tour guide and we do go in haunted locations. So I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if something came back someday. I don't know. I am generally pretty skeptical. It's just weird because she's doing it right now. Hang on. I'll get a video and I'll put it in the... See, I don't know. She doesn't usually stare into nowhere like that. It looks like she's prowling, you know, like she's on the hunt. Imagine that, but for like an hour and a half straight, right after I get home late at night. It was just odd. Just odd. Anyway, one of our skeletons stays alive for the majority of the fight, which allows us to get so many attacks off on the Divine Beast Dancing Lion and take her out pretty quickly. After that, we put on this lion's head and talk to this lady over here, and she's the one that gives us this incantation, which we try to use. We really do. It just sucks. It's so bad. Next up, I want to fight Gaius, and that's because he guards 5 Scadutree fragments. Gaius is tough, not only because we have a lack of health, but because our spell is just so slow and it doesn't catch up to him quick enough to hit him consistently. So instead, I go off to fight this golden hippopotamus who drops us 2 Scadutree fragments in hopes of getting another level. And then I rune farm for a bit longer, just because I don't feel like I have enough damage yet. I'm not satisfied with this build. I'm hoping to max out my intellect and faith. So with all of the runes farmed and a couple more deaths to Gaius, we end up getting this run. So I always started off by using my Watchful Spirit incantation. That's the new one that we got. And I summoned my skeletons. This is basically the only chance we're going to get to use this incantation safely in this fight. That's just because it takes a little while to cast. And basically we just got to get Gaius focused on our skeletons so I can spam Rancor Call. And it is doing solid damage now. It is not bad at all. And I was also feeling pretty confident this run. I don't know what changed, but I was finally starting to play well again. I also tried to use the Tibia Summon spell when I could, especially after this whole combo thing, just because it does do the most damage out of any of our spells. I think it is technically the most FP efficient spell that we have. I could be wrong about that, but it is just the most inconsistent. I wish we could have gotten more use out of it though. So with Gaius down to half, he's about to phase transition, which is perfect timing because both of our skeletons are currently dead, and that gives them some time to respawn. And with our skeletons back to full health, we have some time to get some damage off on him while he's focused on them, so that's pretty good. I put up another Watchful Spirit, because why not? I want to get as much use out of this incantation as I can, even if it's not very good. And thankfully I managed to dodge his annoying charge attack. We're doing good this round. We still have a lot of healing and 3 FP flasks left, so hopefully we will have enough to take him out. And this is what I mean right here about bosses just switching aggro during the middle of their combos, causing me to get hit. So annoying. Just focus on me or focus on my skeletons. Please don't do both because I'm not good enough to handle that. I definitely prefer this game without summons and also with melee weapons. I think that playstyle more so forces you to learn the boss's movesets, and learning the movesets as well as that feeling of progression and getting better. I think that is the best part of the Soulsborne series. I'm not saying you can't do that as a mage, of course not. I think it's just tougher because you're more likely to sit in the back and spam spells, which is the whole point of a wizard. Anyway, Gaius over here makes one final mistake by focusing on our skeletons rather than us, which allows us to spam a bunch of spells, which take him real low. As long as these last few hit him, he should be done for. I really want to finish him off with either a Tibia Summons or a Watchful Spirit, just because, like, why not, you know? So I back up and I put a Watchful Spirit on me. Thankfully I get it off before he hits me with his charge attack, and we just gotta hit him with one of these. Come on, just, okay, there we go. Yeah, and with Gaius down, we get 5 more Scattered Tree Fragments right past him. After that, I try to fight Rykard again, and it is not going well. As you guys can see, I'm down to only 1 FP flask, and that was after allocating my flasks to be more so for FP than health. And we didn't even get past the first phase, so here's what I did instead. I know, pretty cheap, but he actually has an extra spell that we could use, and I would rather add some fun and variety to this challenge run rather than stick to a mundane set of rules that mean nothing. I'm not sure if it's challenge failed or not because Rykard is technically an optional boss with our rule set. I would say so, but also who cares? Anyway, we get to Rolana, and this is where I start to spam my spells again. Oh my god. And surprisingly, even though she's resistant to magic damage, our Rancor spells do a decent amount to her. It's not bad at all. And this is where I start to notice one of the problems of these spells. That's how much it obscures our screen. If Rolana were to attack me right now, I would not be able to see and react to it in time to dodge it. Kinda hard when half my screen is covered by magic that's slowly flying at the boss. Especially with Rykard's Rancor, the spell that we just got from Rykard. You know, Rykard's Rancor. His Rancor from Rykard. Unfortunately, Rykard's Rancor does not get buffed by the Prince of Death's Staff because it's not a death sorcery, even though it is a Rancor. I need to look that up. What does that even mean? I'm guessing it's just like a group of spirits. It just means like bitterness or resentfulness over something in the past. So I guess all of these spirits are feeling Rancor. They're vengeful spirits. They're bitter about something that happened to them in life, and they're coming back after death to harm the living. Yeah, let's go with that. Now, unfortunately, Rolana did take out our skeletons, but that's not enough to finish us off. We still have enough FP to take her out pretty easily, and we have a lot of healing flasks. So as long as we don't get caught up in one of her super long and deadly combos, we should be okay. Now that our skeletons are gone, it is pretty tough to get off some safe attacks, because Rolana really does like to get up close and personal. And if we were to just let her get close and then do an attack when we have an opportunity, it would most likely miss. All of our Rancor spells are not very accurate up close, unless we're facing a really big boss. So in order to take Rolana down from here on out, we just gotta get some distance. Like right here, for example. Come on. Get her. That's it. Okay, Rolana's down. Next up is our perfect opportunity to test out our brand new spell. I was going to use the Spirit Sword or whatever it's called, but then I remembered that Ramana here is weak to fire damage, which Rykard's Rancor does do. The only problem with it is it can be somewhat inconsistent. The amount of damage that it does just depends on how long the boss sits in the Rancor explosions. And luckily Ramana is a pretty big boss, so there's a higher chance of this hitting her multiple times, but she does move around quite a bit, and that led me to having some super consistent runs where I would get so much damage off on her with Rykard's Rancor, or some other runs like this one where I wouldn't get enough damage off and I would run out of FP. But this run right here was pretty good. As you guys can see, Rykard's Rancor took down so much of her health with just one cast of it, which bodes well for the rest of this fight. I learned that if you cast it from maybe 10-ish meters away, that's when you get the most consistent results with it. I know that's kind of hard to judge meters in video games, but that would probably be like close to mid-range, I would say. Like right around here. So with this current amount of FP in my FP bar, we have enough for 3 uses of Rykard's Rancor and 1 use of Ancient Death Rancor. And that's exactly how I played it. I would use Rykard's Rancor 3 times, and then Ancient Death Rancor once. Really wanted to get the most out of this FP bar, you know? And another trade. Well, at least we won. Now it's time for Bail, so we talk to Egon first, get his furled finger, and we make our way up to the dragon right here. My first attempt ended in death when Bail grabbed me almost immediately and one-shot me with that grab attack, But my second attempt right here went significantly better. At this point, I am using Ancient Death Rancor instead of Rancor Call, and it does pretty decent damage, especially good poise damage when we hit Bail's head up here. And even though they're slow, these Vengeful Spirits do have really good tracking. I also want to point out that this is a charge spell, so it does get buffed by Godfrey's icon. And if you don't know what that is, it's a talisman that you get in Altus Plateau that buffs any charged spells or skills. And it's what, like a 15% buff? And you don't even need to charge it. I think it just works if you don't charge it too. But yeah, after that sick poise break, Bail is already down to half health and into phase 2, and this is a pretty good fight. Bail is either like super hard or super easy, and right now he's super easy and I love it. One more beautiful poise break right here allows us to get a bunch of extra damage off on Bail, and hopefully take him down before he even gets back up. Do y'all hear that? What are you doing, Egon? What are you doing? Anyway, yeah, he didn't stop doing that until I rested at the site of grace, but yeah, we are doing these bosses like way out of order, but that's totally fine. Mr. Putrescent Knight is up next, and this shouldn't be a huge problem. He's usually either the second or third boss that you're supposed to take down, so I don't think we'll have too many problems with this guy. Nice, that's taken care of. And we basically just teleported straight to Mesmer's boss room to start his fight, and I died 9 times to him. But 10 times the charm, and we got this round where he mostly focused on my skeletons, and I was able to sit in the back and spam a bunch of spirits that would follow him and attempt to destroy him. So usually we could get down about a third of his health right in the beginning as he was focusing on the skeletons, and then as long as he didn't permanently end my skeletons, I could just dodge his attacks for a bit, and then get him to refocus on my boys before I start attacking him again. I really did not focus on collecting Revered Spirit Ashes. I got maybe like 2 or 3 this entire run, so I have no idea where they are. Even on my main character, I just like have never bothered to even collect those, just because, again, I don't really use Spirit Ashes too much anymore. I definitely did when I was still learning how to play the game. Like, it was so helpful to have these super powerful spirits like Black Knight Tish who could solo most of the bosses in the game. So yeah, I mean, they're really, really great for learning. Or if you're stuck on Melania, who's like super cheap sometimes and really annoying to fight. It started to get pretty dicey once my skeletons were down, and it's because basically any 2 of his attacks could take me down. If I was not at full health at any point during this fight, there was a high likelihood of me getting a one-shot. But eventually, even Mesmer couldn't stand up to our Rancor. I feel like Rancor should mean a group of spirits. It sounds good, doesn't it? You know? Like a Rancor of ghosts. Yeah! Okay, I knew I traded a lot with bosses, Okay, I knew I traded a lot with bosses, but I did not realize just how many it was. And unfortunately, that one didn't even count, so 2 more attempts and I did get a winning run. Sunflowers are next, which gives us another beautiful opportunity to use Rykar's Rancor, which should shred these guys. Being plants, they are incredibly weak to fire. Which we have. Yeah. And come on, everybody knows that fire types are super effective against grass types. It's one of the most basic type combos in Pokemon. Also, I've said it before, I'll say it again. This would be such a sick fucking Pokemon, dude. The next Pokemon game, Z to A, or whatever it is, Legends and Kalos, is Sunflower Mega Evolution right here. This is all you need. But maybe don't make it as weak to fire as this Scattered Tree avatar currently is. And listen, this video is super long. It is so long. This is ridiculous. So I'm going to skip the middle sunflower because it's basically the same thing that you just saw, and skip ahead to the final sunflower. So one thing that I learned about Rykar's Rancor in this fight is that you should always be locked onto their body rather than their sunflower head. Otherwise, the spell just misses completely. It'll fly directly up into the air rather than closer to the ground where it would get more hit markers. So if you do ever need to use this spell against the sunflowers, aim for the body. I make a quick pit stop to get the golden braid as well as ring the finger bell. And with that, we can fight Mother Fingers. Now, in the past couple of runs, this boss has given me so much trouble for no reason, but it wasn't too bad in this one. The lack of health definitely created some issues for me, because this thing does a significant amount of damage, but overall, not too bad. We also don't do too much damage with our spells, but we do enough to get by. Okay, sick. So this video is like an hour and 50 minutes long, but then I went through the footage and I looked through what I had cut already, and it turns out I had kept like 30 minutes of Radahn boss fights still in there. So, whew. I was wondering why it was so long. I felt like I didn't even do that much more than a normal run, you know? But I'm glad I figured that out. That's stressing me out a bit. Not because I don't want to give you guys long videos, I just don't know what to say for like 2 hours. I can do like an hour and 20 minutes where I have interesting things to say, and then the rest of it, it's just like me repeating the same things over and over and over again, and that's not really fun to listen to. Unless you're trying to go to sleep, then it might help you sleep, I suppose. I don't know. Well, the Mother Fingers is just about down. Once these all hit her, she should be, yep, done. And that just leaves her down. Well, that's not true. That's because, well,
I've made a huge mistake.
I forgot to fight Midra. I just completely forgot about the Lord of Frenzied Flame. Didn't even bother going down to the frickin' Abyssal Woods. Well, that's a lie. I went down there to collect the Scatty Tree fragments, but I didn't really go to Midra's Manse, and I completely forgot to fight him. And I would have just gone back and fought him, but I already started the next run on this character. So now I think it's safe to say we've officially failed this challenge. That's okay though. If you guys want to continue watching, you're more than welcome to. We are at Radahn after all. But if you want to leave and never watch any of my videos again, I totally understand. I set out to complete this nearly impossible challenge. We had a 0.01% chance of success. And I promised that I would, no matter the odds. And, well, we failed. I lied to you all, I took you for granted, and I didn't fight a boss. I failed this challenge, and I don't think I deserve the rank of YouTuber anymore. Goodbye. Daisy, come here, say goodbye to our friends, come here. Say goodbye. The one time you're not talkative, huh? Okay, you got this. Meow! You just gotta meow. Say it. Meow! Meow! Daisy! What's wrong with you, girl? Do you see ghosts? I think she sees ghosts. She's crawling on my shoulder with her claws right now. That hurts. Ow, please put those away. Okay, well, Daisy doesn't want to say goodbye, so I guess that means it's not goodbye. With that being said, my next challenge should be a lot easier and a lot quicker. So I will have it out by next Friday or Saturday, as well as hopefully a second video. Again, it's not going to be Elden Ring, but it will be another video. So if you guys want to watch, that'd be cool. Anyway, as you were seeing in the background footage, I tried to use Rancor Call at first, but it just wasn't doing like any damage, so I gave up on that pretty quick. Then I picked up the Spirit Glaive, which I picked up in the Crimson Mirelands. No, the Cerulean Coast. And I just did not like the moveset of that at all. I also tried the Spirit Sword, the tiny curved sword, but it just has so little range. I hated it. And right here, I actually got really close to beating him with the Ghost Flame Torch, which I loved. I had so much fun with this. The extra frost buildup was amazing. It did incredible poise damage. But I landed on, well, our favorite weapon of the run. Family Heads was to be the weapon that we used to defeat Radahn once and for all. Now, the Torch and the Flail are pretty similar. So they both do a pretty significant amount of poise damage. They both have very quick attacks. And they both do both physical and magic damage. The differences are the flail just does more base damage overall, which is nice. The heavy jump attack, I just feel like it's slightly more consistent to hit. And most importantly, it can riposte. Torches do not have a critical hit animation. That being said, the Ghost Flame Torch does apply frost, so I guess kind of evens out there. I just personally like the Family Heads better. I was having really a lot of fun with the flail, surprisingly. I also picked up my favorite cracked deflecting tier. You know, the tier that helps you deflect in your wondrous physic. The thing that turns this game into Sekiro. Well, I suppose Lies of P would be a more apt comparison. I still want to do a challenge run of that game. I love Lies of P, it's so good. Please, 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 if you have any challenge run ideas for Lies of P, let me know in the comments. I really want to do one of those. I love that game. Anyway, I ended up buffing my Vigor too. As you guys can see, I have 70 Vigor plus Morgott's Great Rune, which, I mean, my Vigor bar takes up like half the screen. This run has taken so long already, and it's like a week late. So I was just like, okay, F this. I'm just going to complete this by buffing our Vigor up as much as we can. I lost some damage from, you know, the dexterity and strength that I would have put into the Family Heads, but the Vigor helps us survive, so it's worth it. And I of course also put on Lord's Divine Fortification because that is basically necessary for the second phase of this fight, at least for me. It's just so nice to have that extra holy damage resist. So nice. But that's about all I got for you guys in terms of commentary for Radahn, so enjoy the rest of the fight. And I'll just say this now, because why not? But if you guys want to subscribe, that would be awesome. But you don't have to. if you don't enjoy this content, this video, my style of content creation, like, that's totally fine. I want you to subscribe to YouTubers that you genuinely enjoy and want to see. So I won't be offended. And as always, your viewership is quite enough for me. And I also just want to thank my channel member Micah for being amazing and awesome, and I love you, Micah. As well as just everybody who comments on these videos every week. I definitely see a few of you who comment, like, at least mostly every week, and I love hearing from you guys. I really do. It makes my week every time I see comments from y'all. So just thank you all for all the support you've been showing me. Again, I apologize that this is so late, but yeah, thank you. It really does mean the world. Okay, now I'll shut up and let you guys enjoy the rest of the fight. Now, I was trying to finish him off with Familial Rancor right here, but then I realized that I don't have any more FP left, so with one more quick smack to the buttocks, Radahn has fallen. And that takes us to the end of the run. How did we do? Not well. Not well. Like a 25-hour run? Good lord. Over 270 deaths. That's a lot. But I hope you enjoyed the Halloween themey, spooky theme of this themed video. And I think I'm gonna get Daisy like a little witch hat or costume, and I'll put that in the next video. I just thought of that like right now. That would be so cute. One more Halloween video coming up next week. Thank you so much for watching. I love you guys. If you want to subscribe, go for it. If not, your viewership is always enough for me. I already said that, but there you go. You get it twice. Peace.